Assalamualaikum and salam UiTM di hatiku. My name is ALEEYA and I'll present about introduction. So, this article studies about the relationship between unemployment and inflation in Malaysia on how each of these two affect on each other. This is known as Phillips curve by William Phillips as an important device in microeconomics policy. What is inflation? Inflation is the increase in the general price level either in goods or service. For example, the price of house, clothes, transportation, and many more. It happens from time to time. To explain further, when the economy is great, the company will hire many workers to increase the production level. Besides, when the economy is increased, low unemployment will go along with high inflation. On the other hand, when the economic recessions, company will reduce the level of production and fire many workers. The issue raised in this article is high unemployment. This is when the central bank, whose role is to stabilize the price and control the inflation rate, its functions are to help the economy to achieve the stability in price, full employment, and economic growth. However, to achieve the low rate in inflation, the unemployment will increase because of their negative relationship. It also affects political issue. This is because the government wants to decrease high unemployment and reduce the gap of jobless. The opinion of these two sides are contrast, and it gives obstacles to our economy to develop. Next, we go to the methods. This study used error correction model to analyze the relationship between the rate of unemployment and inflation in Malaysia. The period of this examination was from 1975 until 2004. The annual statistics was taken from National Economy and Development Authority in Philippines and the Department of Statistics in Malaysia and also from Asian Development Bank. The Phillips curve have 3 stages, which are the first one is unit root test, which known as Dickey-Fuller ADF. It is to define the recent data and determine the purpose of the time to stationary data. And this is the equation of ADF unit root test. The second stage is Johansson co-integration test. This is to check the relationship between unemployment and inflation, where are called as variables. This is to classify the level of sensitivity for these two variables. And this is the equation for this test. Last but not least, we have error correction model. This is to study the short-run impression of the changes in the independent variables on the reliant variables for the joint importance of the lagged independent variables. And this is the equation for error correction model.
The finding from this article is the first one. This article and the study used a data based on 1973 until 2004, and the data is converted into a logarithm form. The second finding is the stationarity of the variables was studied by using the augmented Dickey-Fuller test (ADF). It is a unit root test for statisticity. Okay, there are some minor differences found in the findings, but 2 variables were achieved where both of the variables are integrated. These are the 2 variables: unemployment rate UER, inflation rate IFR. In the second stage, Johansson co-integration test was used to examine the long-run movement of the variables. It should be noted that Johansson co-integration test also can be biased if the number of observations is small.
Since the number of observations is limited, the maximum lag length for the test was set at 2.
According to Archaic Information Criterion AIC, the optimal lag length could be 1.
So, the study results of the Johansson test is, according to the lag length of 1.
Info.
Long-run relationship exists between inflation rate and unemployment rate. It shows that both of the variables are co-integrated. Even though the variables are not stationary at levels, they move closer to each other in the long run.
Error correction model ECM.
Used to examine the short-run impact of the independent variables on the dependent variable as well as the long-run impact. The inflation rate was moving towards an equilibrium level. The unemployment rate did seem to have an important impact on the inflation rate.
So, equilibrium relationship exists between the inflation rate and unemployment rate. This is the evidence that Phillips curve exists in the context of Malaysian economy.
It's EYLIN, FAZLIN, AQMA, BINTI, HASANI, and thanks to my lecturers and to others friends. So here I am going to present regarding the conclusions and the suggestion of this topic. So the conclusion, as both inflation and employment are common phenomena, it is a challenging process to fully analyze the significance and the interaction between these factors. We clearly analyze the trade-off relationship between inflation and employment in the long term, as well as the causal trend, as we did in this report. In other words, although we concentrate wholly on the interaction between these two variables, they merely modify the Phillips curve theory. In short, the finding shows the existence of co-integration relationship between inflation and employment, but with irrelevant negative long-run coefficient by applying co-integrations technique. Although both variables tend to step together towards long-term equilibrium, unemployment has no significant impact on inflation. However, the finding based on the error correction model and approach to this causality test show that unidirectional causal relationship between inflation and employment indicate that employment was affected by inflation. Eventually, this analysis discovered evidence of Malaysia trade-off relationship between inflation and employment. So, due to the importance of these two macroeconomic variables to economic stability, further related analysis is needed to be carried out on a frequent basis from time to time to ensure smooth and efficient future economic policy planning and to sustain sustainable economic growth as well. So, in a nutshell, inflation is a big concern everywhere and not only can affect the economic growth of nations. So, the government should attempt to minimize or reduce the unlimited or unnecessary consumption of expenditures. The rates of personal and community tax should be increased, but the rate of taxes should not be very high. This is because it will discourage the good habit of saving and investment and also the production as well. So, and another indicator of this problem is direct regulation of costs and rationing is inflation check. The government should be try to regulate rates by trying to control an approximate amount for the cost of basic consumer products in market service. In order to perform this plan, they need to have a specific strategy for particular products such as sugar, oil, flour, and etc. So by doing this, no one has right to change the price level in market because it's already fixed at the particular rate. So by reducing regulating price, it also can help households to spending more, which can help reduce the inflations. The next is monetary policy. So government can use monetary policy to overcome this high inflation in the country via credit control methods, where it can improve our country quality of credit. So by doing this, the central bank is able to increase the money supply and lower the market interest rate by purchasing securities using newly created money. Other than that, government should try to increase the saving among our country by implementing a policy like freeze the wages, profit, or income. It can assume in a short time only because it was a drastic measure likely to provoke the workers and industry as well. So consequently, the best way is by linkage increase in wages to make sure the productivity increase as well. However, this will have a dual upshot, which is it will control wages and at the same time productivity will be increasing. If the government came up with the solution by increasing the income of the workers, this is because when the government raises the income or wages, it will make the household spending more on expenditures. At the same time, can reduce the turnover and directly decrease the unemployment in the country. By doing this is also can improve the quality of the firm. So in order to reducing the inflation rate in Malaysia, it was our responsibility to make it happen. So that's all for me. Thank you.